Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
Like a helpless insect, attracted to the radiant glow of the distant moon, there's one title that refuses to leave my heart, and even 4 long years after its release, still serves as a beacon of hope for how incredible the shooter genre can truly be. Titanfall 2 is the most fun shooter you can play in 2020, and although in this business, even a single year can seem like a lifetime, people tend to forget that even among the insane events of the past year, change isn't necessarily progress. The title of fun still belongs to Titanfall, and while there's still life in my anonymous body, I'll keep picking up that crown and place it atop its polished sequeled head.
For I can't help falling in love with you.
I only started playing Titanfall again recently, however, after its introduction to Steam and a newly revived player base, waiting for less than a minute for matches seemed too good to pass up. After jumping onto that Valorant bandwagon, which is wonderful in its own right, I had been training myself to slowly move around, compensate for recoil, and to wait patiently for my teammates to either clutch rounds by themselves or die trying. I would find myself becoming extremely competitive, even to the point of frustration, because of the unforgiving nature of a Counter-Strike style title. It sounds insane to think about, but as soon as stepping into that long-awaited first match of Titanfall, I had forgotten that shooters could be this much fun. The reason Titanfall holds up so fucking well in the current year is because as shooters have slowly trended into more unforgiving territory with permadeath battle royales and slow-paced tactical shooters, Titanfall does the complete opposite. I've mentioned this before, but I generally don't enjoy the battle royale genre. This isn't to say it doesn't have serious merits, but when you break it down, way too many games are spent searching 20 minutes for weapons and items, only to be sniped halfway across the fucking map by someone you never saw in the first place. In so many shooters played today, over half an entire match has the player out of combat entirely, and although this can make firefights more meaningful, it doesn't necessarily make them more fun. Stepping back into Titanfall 2 was like coming home from the ice-cold winter next to the slow crackle of a wood fireplace. The player base is so fucking wholesome because they have no reason to be unhappy. The shooting is crisp because they were made by some of the best in the business, and the feeling of dropping a Titan from orbit or ejecting 100 meters into the sky once it finally gives out feels just as good as the very first time. Stepping into this game is like discovering that every relationship you've ever had with other shooters has been wildly abusive, because Titanfall shows you how happy you can be if they cared about your own enjoyment over their ambitions of being the next esports sensation. The concept of fun is baked into the very foundation of Titanfall 2, and you can see this from every single design decision throughout the entire game. Waiting to respawn isn't fun, so the game does away with this entirely. Joining a game late and losing isn't enjoyable, so losses don't even count unless you were there from the very start, and going more than 10 seconds without shooting something is boring, so the maps are littered with grunts that can be killed to contribute to your team. Even fucking losing in Titanfall is often more fun than winning, because the losing team is tasked with making it to an evacuation ship in the last 60 seconds, while permadeath is turned on. Players who manage to make it out will even gain the exact same rewards they would have for winning, because as previously mentioned, Titanfall only wants you to have fun. I still find it insane that anyone would play Call of Duty in a world where Titanfall 2 exists. Jason West and Vince Zampella, the leads of both Modern Warfare 1 and 2, considered by many to be the best the series has ever produced, were fired from Activision over issues with creative control and owed bonuses. After their departure, they immediately started Respawn Entertainment, poached most of their previous team, went on to create some of the most innovative shooters ever made, and as one last Giga Chad move, sold their development studio to Electronic Arts, Activision's biggest competitor. Titanfall 2 is what Call of Duty would be if they put fun above all else. Every weapon is so damn memorable and feels unique, even among its own class. What's better is that around a third of all guns are what I like to call flex weapons. Shit like the Kraber, which kills in one shot to the toe, the Mozambique, which is a fucking primary gun less effective than punching people in the face, and every single grenadier weapon will never be considered optimal picks, but exist because they are all so fucking enjoyable to use. Very rarely will you see a veteran player stomp a lobby with an S tier weapon because they know, like everyone else, that limiting themselves to the flex class of guns is not only way more impressive, but also, as the kids say, hits different. At this point, we haven't even gotten to the Titans. If this were a Call of Duty title, the Titans would be on rails, have a timer of 25 seconds, and could only be earned by getting 17 kills in a row without dying, at which point you'd be killed by a camper with a shotgun shortly after your 16th kill. Titanfall knows that shit isn't fun, so instead, every player has a countdown on when their Titan is ready to be dropped, and time is shaved off for every bit of damage you deal to the enemy team. This means that going for those insanely flashy moves is never disincentivized, and allows even the newest players to enjoy the game's most fun toys. Even if a player has never played a shooter in their life, being able to farm grunts and enjoy several Titans a match makes it so damn appealing to players of all skill levels. One of the only criticisms I hear about this game is that people don't enjoy playing against players who have Titans, but I would argue that they simply don't respect the dynamic at play. Titans are designed to be enormous fuck-off death machines that are slow and grounded, and pilots are supposed to be extremely nimble and blisteringly fast super soldiers who need to be smart to outplay Titans. Good players will chip them down from a distance, steal their batteries, avoid them completely, or just call their own Titan to even the odds. It's such an interesting dynamic to balance Titan and pilot combat, and dismissing it entirely is a disservice to so much work done with weapon and level design to allow it to function in the first place. This is all before mentioning the movement, which is objectively the best in any shooter still to this day. Wall running was seen very commonly from Call of Duty titles shortly after Titanfall hit the shooter scene, but for the most part, it only seemed to be used as a marketing tool, as opposed to actually adding anything meaningful to the gameplay. Titanfall has wall running at the very foundation of the game design, and all maps are designed so players never need to even touch the ground if they choose to do so. This kind of creative movement system allows players to carve their own path through an environment, and getting across the map feels as if you're a freestyle artist in pursuit of perfection than a simple soldier holding down sprint to rush to the next objective. Most of what you'll be doing in any game is moving from one point to another, and when it can feel this good, it's just another fine addition to a collection of incredible features. Even the fucking monetization and progression model absolutely trumps so many games released today. A player will level up once every few matches, and at every single level, they'll be given access to a new gun, ability, or Titan for them to play around with. Before they can even get familiar with what they've just unlocked, they'll be given yet another toy to enjoy, which will continue all the way up to max level. The way monetization works is that there's a store with cosmetic items that you can buy if you so choose. The top tier items are around $5. They don't give any advantage to combat whatsoever, and there isn't any secondary currency or randomization to speak of. It's just a reasonable transaction for a reasonable price. What a fucking luxury. There's a good reason why Titanfall looks so good in trailers, because you can't go a single match without experiencing a moment that looks so cinematic that you'd think it was scripted. Fellow content creator Smurfson, who you might recognize as the very talented editor of News Without the Bullshit, has proved time and again how good the game can look just by playing casually, and it's the reason I was even able to find him in the first place. I could continue further on both the survival mode and one of the best shooter campaigns even to this day, but you shouldn't need any more convincing. Titanfall 2 was ahead of its time back in 2016, and it's ahead of its time even today. At some point in the last few years, shooters developed a need for competitive viability and punishing gameplay mechanics, and the entire genre got swept up along the way. It's absolutely insane that the most refreshing shooter a person can play in 2020 is one that was treated as an afterthought 4 years ago, and to those who enjoy shooters and have still yet to play this absolute masterpiece of a game, you would be doing yourself a disservice for not doing so.
Take my hand, take my whole